Hi, and welcome to Atlas Network with Michael Carnuccio. An exciting conversation we have in store this week. I was able to sit down with Nataliya Melnyk from the Bendukidze Free Market Center in Ukraine. We met in the safety and security of Brussels in Belgium and had a fascinating conversation about her story, her perseverance, that of her team, what they're going through right now, but how they're pressing forward and actually having some incredible impact. While we were there together, the team actually participated in Atlas Network Smart Bets competition, and we'll learn a little bit more about that. But most importantly, we'll learn about the passion and the heart of Ukrainians, their push toward free markets, and the impact and the success that Nataliya and her colleagues are having there, and what we can all learn from it and how we can all be inspired. I think you're going to enjoy this conversation as much as I did. Enjoy.
This is Atlas Network with Michael Carnuccio.
Hi, and welcome to Atlas Network with Michael Carnuccio. A lot of you have asked questions about Ukraine. You've asked about what policies is Atlas Network working on, what are Atlas Network partners in and around Ukraine doing, and more importantly, what you can do to help. And so today we're excited to talk with a very strong leader, very exciting leader that many in Atlas Network have become familiar with, and that's Nataliya Melnyk. Nataliya, thank you so much for your time and being part of the program today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, let's start right there, right? So when you get asked, as I'm sure you do all the time, Nataliya, what do you do? How do you answer the question?
That's a fantastic question, and so far I have not been successful in explaining it to my parents.
Sure.
So they still don't know what I do. But I am lucky enough to be running an amazing team of Bendukidze Free Market Center, and we work on promoting the economic way of thinking amongst the youth as our way of contributing to the rebuilding of Ukraine and actually building of the new, more successful and self-reliant Ukraine, while also promoting economic freedom and certain policy decisions that we would like to see implemented to see it happen.
You all are getting ready to come up on your 10-year anniversary, I believe. So talk to us about the 10-year history of the organization and where you are now versus where you were before.
So we've evolved quite a lot because when we just started off, we were organizing anti-corruption forums that attracted thousands of people.
Sure.
And then we've prepared multiple policy packages and things like that. And then we slowly expanded our portfolio of products. So now, over time, we added economic education, because we do see the great benefits that it can have for future generations that will be our future. So throughout that time, we've had some hard times, I must say. We weren't sure we would last this long, and it's not only because of fundraising challenges, because everyone has those. We were having issues with the Ukrainian authorities, where the prosecutor's office was kind of persecuting us. There were situations in which we would organize events like discussions about the economic freedom in Ukraine and around the world in one of the cities that's not Kyiv. And our partners would let us know that, we got a phone call from the security service of Ukraine, and they told us to cancel the event. So those were some weird times. There were searches in the homes of our co-founders, but no one was ever able to find anything because there was nothing to be found. But during that time, we didn't fundraise at all. Because we did not know at which point we might lose access to our bank account.
Sure.
But we weathered the storm, and right now I would say we're stronger than ever. And a lot of it is due to Atlas Network, because Atlas Network was there at the beginning. And then with the startup fund, when the organization was just created, and then they were there to help us during the difficult times and when the full-scale invasion started.
So it's probably very interesting for our listeners and viewers, as it is for me, to hear you say that you had all of these challenges that you experienced before the invasion happened. And then knowing that what's happening right now in Ukraine, for you to make the statement, we're stronger than ever, why are you making that statement? What gives you that strength and that courage?
So one of the things is that I do believe that human beings are inherently resilient. It's just you find this resilience at the greatest time of need.
Sure.
So something happens and it's just there and you bounce back up. There's this one saying that I really like. It's the Ukrainian one, and it says that if your hands are preoccupied, they can't be lowered. So basically, if you're staying busy, there's no chance that you're going to lose hope or you're going to start whining
that's good.
and
Okay.
become desperate. So we're staying busy, that's for sure. We are looking for new opportunities because we feel that in a situation where, without being overly dramatic, you might die at any given moment, you might go to sleep and not wake up. It means that there's a reason for it, why you're still alive. And it means that you should make the most out of it. Because tomorrow might not come. So many wonderful people tragically lost their lives in Ukraine. So it's like we're living for ourselves and for them as well, to make sure that their loss and their sacrifice wasn't in vain.
Can I ask you about that, just loss, sacrifice, and whatnot? What has this experience been like for you and your colleagues? I mean, not just on the professional level of the work that you're doing, but what is it like?
So it's hit my team pretty hard. Some of my team members who have children, they were dealing with this extra level of responsibility and anxiety. But specifically, one of my colleagues who has a wonderful pair of twin boys, the war has caught up with her twice because she was living in Donetsk when the war first started.
Sure.
And she had to leave her hometown. That was the only place she ever lived, with basically newborn boys, and escape to Kyiv while her family was still staying behind and under occupation. And then once again, fast forward, and it's the same thing again. You know, Kyiv is being attacked. The boys are terrified.
Yeah, sure.
They're hiding in the bathroom because there are planes flying around, and you don't know if those are Ukrainian planes or Russian planes. So in that situation, she made the only decision that makes sense for her and her family, and they left the country. Mm-hmm. And it was still just her and her boys, because the rest of her family, they were in other places. Mm-hmm. No one was there to help her out. Mm-hmm. So they moved to France. One of my other colleagues, she's in Germany right now. And then my whole team is scattered around the country. And for now, this is how it's supposed to be. Of course, it poses certain difficulties occasionally. But I'm glad that they're all doing okay enough to continue working. But like I said, this work, it provides a good distraction.
You're talking about an important leadership element there, right? You went from a team that was together in the same geographic area, if not in the same office, interacting quite a bit, to all of a sudden now you're spread out in multiple time zones and connecting and doing work virtually. So how, as a leader, have you adopted? What have you learned through this process?
I'm a perfectionist, and that's a problem. What I've learned is that as a leader, you need to be flexible. So you need to be flexible for your own sanity, and you need to be flexible to accommodate your team and its needs. Sometimes when I'm getting frustrated about something, or when I feel like we could be doing more or better, I do have to pause myself for a minute and think, like, what are they going through? We're all different when it comes to dealing with stress. And believe me, it is very stressful
Yeah,
to be
sure.
living in Ukraine right now, or even
Absolutely.
outside of the country when you don't have your usual support network.
Good point.
I've made sure that we have these check-ins that show how available the team members are to perform more tasks or just to handle the workload that they already have. Because things happen, and in the situation that we are in Ukraine right now, something new might come up. But all of us are definitely justified in putting a new thing on our resume and saying, we're great under stress.
Yeah, right. Let me jump back to something you mentioned before. You talked about a focus on young people, that is kind of a new target that you have and where a lot of your energy goes. When did that start? Why is that? And what do you hope to see come from that effort?
So this focus on the youth, and more specifically, it's middle school and high school children, came out of us embracing the need to promote economic education and to make it more available in order to set up young people for success. Because of our Soviet past, some of the obvious things, they're just lacking because this is not something that they can learn at home. And quite often, this is something they cannot learn at school normally.
Sure.
So that's why we decided to change the educational content, change the attitude towards economic education, the basic economic education, and change the way it is taught Ukrainian schools. But now I think after the beginning of the full-scale invasion, because that was before, but after it gained a new meaning, and the meaning is human capital, which is priceless. And I do believe that through our efforts of promoting economic education and making it more available, more accessible, we are investing in rebuilding this human capital. And when the full-scale invasion first started, I thought that the worst thing about it was the loss of life. And while it's absolutely heartbreaking, over time, I've realized that there's something worse, and something worse is loss of hope. And this is what gives us hope, and this is what helps us give this hope to the kids, because they understand that education is important, that they do have a future, and that we value this future, and we want them to do as well as possible and make their own choices that make sense for them, but that they are informed. I feel like this is how we're contributing to the so-called efforts to rebuild Ukraine, even though I don't like that term, because to me, I take it literally, and to me, it means rebuilding Ukraine is like going back to what it was like before the war or before the full-scale invasion started. And this is not the goal, right? The goal is to build a different Ukraine, a different Ukraine that allows for as many opportunities for its citizens to be successful, to be self-reliant, to lead dignified life as possible.
Yeah, you talked earlier about starting the think tank dealing with corruption, dealing with pressure from the state and everything else. So the idea of just repairing what existed before to continue is not. But you also talked of hope. You talked in broad terms, but as a leader, what gives Nataliya hope right now?
I think my main source of hope would be seeing people, those who I know personally and those who I don't, who continue on with their lives despite everything. Like my father is the general director of regional children's hospital. And it's not a job for him. It's a calling. He lives and breathes
passionate
with
about
his
that.
work. Yeah,
Sure.
absolutely. And of course, it's become more difficult because of the full-scale invasion. But he's there and he's doing amazing things for the children. And then I see examples like that every single day, and people are not giving up. And because people are not giving up, there is hope. One of the things that I noticed about Kyiv, so I had to leave Kyiv about 2 weeks into the full-scale invasion, when it was advised that women should leave the region because Russian forces were there. And those few days that I was there, it felt like a horror movie, because the city that's always filled with traffic, with people, it was empty. And it was just me driving around looking for a gas station because I needed to buy gas. And everything was empty, of course. No one was around. And then I would come back to Kyiv in a little bit, and then I see it's very empty. It's very reserved. I would see people leaving the metro station in the morning with sleeping bags, because that's where they spent their nights. Because in Kyiv, the metro system is a bomb shelter.
Right.
So it was all different. We were outside, the fire alert would start. And then we were just, the air raid alert would start, and we would just freeze outside because we wouldn't know what to do. We didn't know where to run.
Right.
So you just wait for a minute and then breathe out and continue with your day. So it all felt weird and foreign, even though I had been living in Kyiv since 2006. And then the more time I spent in Kyiv, again, I started seeing children. And seeing children out on the streets, playing around, being with their parents, everything got lighter.
Right.
Everything got more cheerful, because if the kids are there, the future is possible.
So you talked earlier about Atlas Network and the relationship that the organization has had and your involvement. I want to talk about those two things briefly. Why is the think tank still so engaged with Atlas Network? What is that about for you and your teammates?
Well, when the organization first was founded, the Atlas Network was almost like our creator, right? So we were benefiting a lot from Atlas Network. But I think that now, 10 years in, it's a mutually beneficial relationship. Because we value the support that we get from Atlas Network, and it's not only about funding. Don't get me wrong, funding is very important.
Sure.
But the training opportunities, the mentorship opportunities, the ability to go to any Atlas Network staff member and get introductions to the people you might need. So basically harnessing the real power of network, which is not just in the name of the organization. There are some amazing people here, and we can, create miracles together. And then I do feel like with our work, we are also contributing to the power of this network.
Absolutely.
So no, we're not leaving Atlas Network anytime soon.
You and I first met each other at an Atlas Network event, a CEO summit that they will put on every year around the Europe Liberty Forum, which is where we are now, having this time together. What is it about the CEO summit? You're busy. You've got a lot on your plate. I mean, we just talked about how your day is very different from many of your peer CEOs, and yet you find time to attend that. Why is that?
I feel like every time we do attend the CEO Summit, it's too bad it's only once a year. we make a conscious effort to find the time, to make the time, because you tend to be able to do that for really important things. And we were joking with other participants a couple of days ago in Bruges that it's like a group therapy session.
Sure. Yep.
It's more than that. Of course,
Right.
it's more than that. But sometimes being the head of the organization can
Right.
be quite lonely. Even if you're very close with your team, and they know a lot about what's going on, it's still not the same.
Right.
So being
Right.
able to spend these couple of days
Right.
with a group of people that are in the same position that you are,
Yeah.
more or less, that have valuable information to share. I always take notes. I come back and I have these lists of things that I would like
Yep.
to either read or explore more. And I feel like we do help each other, either by listening to each other or giving advice when it's needed, or just reflecting on some of the challenges that are common, even though our organizations can be of different age, size, and perform different functions.
And if you had a peer that was asking you, hey, I'm thinking of going to an Atlas Network event, or hey, do you think my team would benefit or whatnot, what advice would you give to them, or how would you encourage them to proceed?
Oh, absolutely. Atlas Network is a huge and invaluable opportunity, and it's up to you to seize it. For your team members, for yourself as a leader. And it's not only about attending events or getting into training, even those, all of those are very important. I do believe that you can, make even more out of it by just being present.
Yeah.
Being there, listening,
Right.
this is a very inspiring space. And it doesn't matter how busy you are. If you just, open your eyes and open your ears, you might see miracles happening around you. And I think that the hours that I spent during these events or just communicating, be it online or in person with the team members or the network members, they have been some of the most useful minutes of my life.
So you talk about impact and the experience. You've had a pretty significant impact on the Atlas Network. The organization has as well, several times a nominee for awards, several times winning various awards. What does that mean for you and your team, or more importantly, maybe even for Ukraine when these opportunities come about?
So we don't do the things that we do for gratitude or
Sure.
for acknowledgement, but they do help.
Yeah, right.
Especially when, like, for most things, you have to really invest hard work in them to make something happen. And we're all about impact. We don't do things just for the sake of staying busy. So when you do find yourself in a situation in which your hard work is acknowledged, especially by your peers, by those who might not necessarily directly benefit from the things you're doing. Because of course we get a lot of that back home.
Sure.
And we're lucky, but also we deserve it. But when it's coming from your peers, I feel like it gives you more strength to keep going, to keep fighting your battles. It's like, you feel like the wind is filling up your sails.
Yeah.
And that just propels you forward.
So let's shift gears a little bit and talk about how someone can get involved and can help the organization, right? I'm sure listeners, viewers are watching right now. They're inspired by your story. They feel like they want to plug in and get involved. What's the easiest way for them to get engaged, and what kind of support do you all need?
Well, I think the easiest way to engage is to do it through Atlas Network. be it a financial contribution or just getting in touch with us if you have any questions, if you want to understand more about Ukraine, because I feel like we are sort of acting like ambassadors for
Sure.
Ukraine
Yeah.
when we're outside of the country. And it is very important for me to share our experiences, for other people to understand what's happening in Ukraine, because not always you can get that picture from the media. And I feel like if you have a chance to go to the source,
Sure.
you can use it. And then Ukraine is in a very difficult position, and we need all the help we can get. And sometimes that help comes in a form of a conversation, informed conversation you can have with your friends, with your relatives, with your neighbors, or in the form of a letter that you, for example, send to your congressman or a senator.
Sure.
Because you care about what's happening in Ukraine, and they need to know that.
What is you mentioned the phrase, they need to know that, but you also said earlier a way to understand. What is it that everyone needs to understand about what's happening in Ukraine right now?
What's happening in Ukraine has very little to do with Ukraine itself. But at the same time, we are in a situation in which our whole existence is under threat for no reason. So we are fighting for survival. We're not fighting for the land. We are fighting for the future that we would like to experience and we would like our children to experience. And I think we deserve to design that future without, interventions, especially from outside of our borders. Sure, Ukraine is not perfect, but no one is.
Right.
We know our vices and we're working on them, and we do want to be self-reliant. But in order for that to happen, we need peace and we need to live. And at the same time, what we're doing, what every single person on the front line is doing, it is fighting for the values that the free world is supposed to be sharing. And sharing those values doesn't just mean that it, stays on the level of words, right? You need to live those values. And if you're not willing to do anything to protect them, well, then they're not really your values. We are doing our part, and I would like other people to think really hard if they are doing that too.
And let me ask you on that point, what do you think is most needed at this time? Is it external pressure? Is it support in terms of resources? Is it political pressure? What do you see and what do your peers say at this time is the most important thing? If there's one thing that everybody could do this one thing to help Ukraine. And maybe one thing is not fair, so feel free.
One thing is very hard, so the way I'm gonna formulate it will probably be too general.
Okay.
But standing with Ukraine.
Okay.
Because we need to know that someone else is on our side. Of course, we know that we're not alone in this fight, but the more voices we hear in support of Ukraine, in support of Ukraine's existence and future, the less alone we feel. Because sometimes it can be very lonely to be sitting in your apartment hiding from missiles and drone attacks.
Yeah, I can imagine that. I don't know if there's many of our listeners, viewers that can relate right now.
And I hope they won't be able to, because you don't wish this on anyone.
Yeah, but I just, not to sound cavalier or anything, Nataliya, but I just have to tell you, there's no time that I'm around you that you're giving off this air of you don't understand the situation I'm in right now. You're always making others smile around you. You're always bringing like hope and encouragement to others. And so I think that's a fascinating quality in leadership. And so I'm going to ask you a question about leadership now, because I'm also cognizant of the fact that in all of this, a female leader, a woman as a CEO and a leader, is also something that is very important in society right now. And so what is it that is driving you as a leader? What is it that you feel fulfillment from, or what do you feel is so important about leadership?
I'm very lucky to have a job that is extremely rewarding, even though it can be super stressful and frustrating. And I do see the impact. I do see the small wins, right? Because our long-term goals, we are quite far off from achieving them. But even seeing those small wins,
Sure.
those small changes, they give me more inspiration and I think more courage to experiment, to look for new solutions, because I feel like I am contributing to something that is very important. And if you do that, I don't consider the work that I do as a job. It's my life. And it's been my priority for the longest time. And I feel a lot of responsibility for my team members. And as it happens, it wasn't intentional, but as it happens, my whole team is a female team.
How about that?
Yes, I do dream of having a couple of male team members, just maybe at least for the sake of carrying heavy stuff during events, especially.
Sure.
But it just happens to be so.
Sure.
And as a leader, I also enjoy that part of my job that allows me to bring young people into
Yeah.
the movement.
Yeah.
Help them learn how to work and hopefully make a career out of it. If they don't make a career out of it, I know that these are the values that they will take with them throughout their lives. And I think that's also very important.
Folks, as Nataliya said earlier, you can support her and her colleagues by going to atlasnetwork.org. There you can find information not only on the work that Nataliya is doing, but all of our colleagues in the worldwide freedom movement at atlasnetwork.org. But Nataliya, if someone wants to go directly to find information on you, see what you're writing, reading, or get directly plugged in, what's the website or the way that they can follow you all?
We are updating our website right now. The homepage is ready though.
Sure.
So the main information is there and you can just go to bendukidze.org. And you can always contact us on Facebook. We reply in a timely manner, I hope. That's my coworker's responsibility. So it's Bendukidze Free Market Center on Facebook. And we're very easy to reach.
Sure.
And we're available.
And you travel quite a bit. Although, did I overhear you saying like how long it took you on a train to be able to get to, like, it's not just as easy as I'll go catch a flight, right? What's that like right now?
Now there are no airports that are open in Ukraine, civilian airports. They're not allowed. Ukraine is a no-fly zone.
Sure.
So if we need to travel abroad, it means taking buses or trains to go to the nearest countries like Poland, Romania, or Moldova. My new home airport is Warsaw, which just happens to work for me. And usually it's 2 trains, about 16 hours, and I'm there and ready to travel again.
And yet I'm seeing you all over. You're still always traveling. You've got quite a bit of energy. It's quite inspiring.
It's become part of the job.
Sure.
Part of this diplomacy kind of thing that I was mentioning. Because I feel like if you stop seeing us in different circumstances, different international events, we might be forgotten, and Ukraine might be forgotten, and our issues, our fight. So it's a reminder, but also it's important to stay in touch with the network, and it's important to look for more support. Whatever that support might be. So it's just something that we have to do now.
Well, I mentioned before that we are having this conversation from the Europe Liberty Forum that Atlas Network is hosting in Brussels, but we're also having this conversation on your birthday. So, a very happy birthday to you, and we got everybody together for a big party in Belgium just for you, but what do you want for your birthday? What are you hoping to see in the next year?
Well, there is only one wish that all Ukrainians share right now, and I can't say it out loud because it won't come true, but it has to do with the war for sure. And that's just, you know, it's the situation that we don't have control over,
Sure.
but that has very much control over our lives. Outside of that, I'm very happy to say that Atlas Network is a great event team for organizing massive birthday parties.
Sherry and the team are amazing.
And it would be pretty cool to win the Smart Bets competition because it can be a very important step towards our goals and towards fulfilling our mission.
Okay, so when you're not at the office or traveling or speaking, competing for awards, what does Nataliya do when she's off the clock? What's the hobby?
But I do enjoy going to the gym.
Yeah, okay.
Going for a walk
Sure.
so that I can decompress, take my mind off of some things, and play tennis.
A tennis player, okay.
That's my therapy right now. Whacking balls
Sure.
helps de-stress quite
I can imagine.
a lot.
So another question I always love to ask our peers and our partners throughout Atlas Network, because there is a lot of travel that's involved to connect with each other. What's your travel hack? Are you reading a book on the plane? Do you watch a movie? Are you writing? What do you do when you travel?
Unfortunately, I suffer from pretty severe motion sickness.
Oh, no. I'm
So
sorry.
I cannot use the time to
Wow.
catch up on the reading or to do
Sure.
some work. So usually I use the time either to take my mind off of work
Sure.
or otherwise just think about things that need some focus, because as
Sure.
I'm traveling, being on the train, most of the time I'm not online.
Yeah, right.
And that's a pretty good feeling.
Right.
So
Yep.
when you
Disconnect.
remove all of the distractions, you can actually do some really high quality thinking. But other than that, I just try to remember to be kind to myself and not stress too much over the work I'm missing
Sure.
out on.
Sure.
And then as I'm traveling, trying to stay hydrated.
That's a real good point. Lots of hydration, and unfortunately, when people travel, there's usually more caffeine because the times are off, and that even requires more.
I feel like travel, especially for us traveling from Ukraine,
Yeah.
is a massive disruption, not only to
Absolutely.
work,
Yeah.
but to your life, because you're out of your usual environment. Even food is different. So I actually bring some of the things back home with me that connect me to my routine, and it can be some snacks, things like that, because I try to be as, I guess, comfortable
Yeah.
as I can, and our job is a very high stress
Sure.
job. And when I'm traveling, I'm not traveling just to attend an event, right? Usually I have a much more important purpose.
Okay.
And in order to fulfill my duties, I do have to feel at my best
Right.
and be
right.
on.
Be at peak performance. Right.
So if these are the tricks that work for you, if you need vitamins or IV
Right.
that we talked about,
Right.
just, make sure that you're prepared, because being prepared means that there are higher chances of you succeeding,
Yep.
and there's a lot less anxiety that is following you.
So on the pod, we usually ask a couple quick round questions of our guests. You already answered one. I was going to ask you, sport or activity you like to do. So the gym and tennis are your two things. All right. Are you, if you had an option, you can watch a movie or you're going to read a book for the same story. Which one are you picking, movie or book?
If I know that the book is not the greatest, I'm more likely to invest my time into a movie because it's going to be quicker.
Yeah, the book doesn't come with buttered popcorn, so I usually go with a movie. There's not too much depth here. So if there was a song that you were about to hear, what genre do you want to hear that song in?
Right now, I'm all over the place.
Oh, yeah? Eclectic.
My
All right.
playlist, you would have everything from Beyonce.
Okay.
A couple of songs by Taylor Swift.
All right. Would you classify yourself as a Swiftie?
But I do think that they are a decent background noise.
Yeah.
And I like
Sure.
background noise.
Okay.
And then you will have like hard rock songs by Ukrainian band.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So it's more of a mood kind of thing.
Sure.
And that kind of changes. And I'm very much a classical music girl as well.
Yeah.
So
Did you grow up playing an instrument or do you play an instrument now?
I did not.
Okay.
And I blame my mom for that because she had to go through piano lessons and she absolutely hated them.
Ah, so she didn't want to put you
Yes.
through the same.
So
I gotcha.
instead, my parents, when they were looking for a thing for me to do to keep me busy, especially during the summers, they picked tennis.
Ah,
I
there you
started
go.
playing at the age of 11.
Yeah.
And their motivation was that tennis was a cheap sport. They realized their mistake after the first training.
I was going to say, right?
It's one of the most expensive ones, but I fell in love. It was a great fit. And since then, I occasionally do blame them because they covered the costs up until the age of maybe 16. And after that, it's all on me.
It was all
and
on
it's
you.
very expensive.
So in the U.S., pickleball is the thing, but like true tennis players are non-pickleball people. So is pickleball big in Ukraine, or whether it is or isn't, B, what do you think of pickleball?
It's becoming more popular.
It is.
And we definitely do not like it.
Okay.
And for a very specific reason. As
Yeah.
an activity, it's fine.
Sure.
But it's overtaking tennis and destroying tennis courts.
Aha.
So right now, especially in the US, I
Yeah.
can see the different lines for pickleball courts and tennis courts. But then tennis courts are slowly disappearing because
Right.
it's cheaper
Right.
to have pickleball courts. And this is a troubling thing.
Aha.
So that's why we're so much against it. But I do hope that tennis survives this.
So the last question I ask is always about like favorite meal, and I put you in a box of like you have to choose. So it's your birthday. A chef walks out right now and says, Nataliya, you can have anything that you want. What's your favorite meal?
My favorite meal that is so because it's my comfort food.
Okay.
It is Ukrainian, not surprisingly, and I present it as potato pancakes.
Ooh.
So
Sounds
it's
good.
very simple.
Okay.
Basically, shredded potatoes with additional ingredients. Not quite hash browns.
Okay.
That's what
Yep.
they're called. Not quite that, but
Yeah.
a bit similar. So this is comfort food, and it always makes me feel good, even though I can make those.
Yeah.
But usually the process demands blood.
Well, Nataliya, thank you so much for your time and conversation today. Thank you for being such an inspiring leader and keeping things going. And folks, please join me in supporting Nataliya and her colleagues by going to atlasnetwork.org, where you can learn more and find out ways to get involved, including donating to the work that Nataliya and all of her peers in the worldwide freedom movement are doing to advance liberty. Until next time, thank you for watching Atlas Network with Michael Carnuccio.
Of the Europe Smart Bet finalists, it's Bendukidze Free Market Center represented by Nataliya Melnyk.